Well, we're here again for one of our 12 days of Cruxmas conversations. And this time I have the opportunity to uh, sit down, or at least I'm sitting down. I think we're both sitting down. But to sit down and have a chat with Lieschen. I'm sure many of you are familiar with her over the years. And that's really what we're here to talk about today, is just to hear some thoughts, reflections, give an opportunity for her to share a bit about her experience with KRUX. And yeah, so without any further ado, I think I will pass it to you, Lieschen, just to introduce yourself to those who may be watching or listening.
Hi, I'm Lieschen. I'm a lecturer at Stellenbosch University. I'm from the Department of Logistics, which confuses people because my field is actually applied maths, but specifically optimization, and even more specifically, it's in simulation modeling and quantitative systems analysis. So my research group is called Systems Thinking for Education Policy, and what we do is we use quantitative methods to analyze education systems from the whole value chain. So from early childhood development to primary school systems, high school systems, all the way to higher learning, to try and figure out what is wrong with the South African education system. We have a very, very poor education system, and there are very serious systemic reasons for it. So everybody has their pet solution. They just want to throw resources at their pet solution. And what I work on is to teach stakeholders and students to think about problems in a systemic way. That you have to think of the whole picture, the upstream and the downstream and the feedback loops,
Mm.
and that change takes time, and that it's illogical and it's non-linear and it's complex. So that's my day job. Otherwise, I'm just a chill introvert. I love hiking, nature, adore animals. So when I'm not with the animals, I'm behind my computer screen, just trying to be a quiet introvert. Yeah.
Yeah, I can resonate with some of that. Uh, do you have some favorite animals?
Oh my goodness.
This could be a whole
Favorite,
conversation in itself.
favorite domestic animal is definitely going to be a pug, the pug dog. I've had five pugs. I lost my Lily last year, which
Mm.
was devastating. I didn't think I was going to survive it, but I think I'm almost ready to adopt a new puggy. So I'm just
Okay.
waiting for the right moment. Lifelong dream to just have an alpaca. If I can somewhere own an alpaca. I live on a wedding venue, so I'm currently trying to convince them to let me stable an alpaca here, and I promise to dress it up for wedding pictures so that I can generate some revenue off of it. If they help me with the stabling, I'll help recoup the costs by dressing it
Wow.
up for photographs and selling it to brides. Yeah, I think it could be a very lucrative. Um, and then I'm super into rodents. I love rodents. I think it's my favorite subspecies of mammal. But all animals. I'm currently so lucky we stumbled upon a nest of baby kites, yellow-billed kites.
Hmm.
And so my best friend and I, we're now just feeding them chicken livers, the babies. So before the environmentalists come for me, we're not, no human contact. We're not, disrupting nature. We just put the chicken
Sure.
livers down for them for the tree, and then the parents fetch it. But yeah, so I'm having great fun with the animal. I'm lucky enough to live on a farm, so there's lots of
Mm.
animals here.
Oh, that's great. My daughters would love to live on a farm, I think. Whenever we go away to a farm, they're sort of like, oh, it's so wonderful here. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, and they currently have a hamster. So they want to
good.
move up to guinea pigs next time. Um, Mom is not
Perfect.
so keen on it. I'm a bit indifferent. But yeah.
They are perfect. They're perfect. Get a guinea pig instead of a rabbit because guinea pigs don't gnaw. So I had a rabbit, but rabbits gnaw through everything. So if you don't
Mm,
enjoy cables and you don't enjoy furniture, then get a rabbit. But a guinea pig is perfect because they get so tame and they have
mm.
such beautiful personalities and they don't gnaw. So that's perfect.
I'll make sure that Christina listens to our conversation and she'll get your suggestions from that. So, well, appreciate it. And yeah, just even as we get going, appreciate you taking the time. It's a busy time of year as everything is winding down, but I do appreciate it. And yeah, I'm just curious if you could, as much or as little as you'd like to share, sort of a little bit about your faith journey and how you found yourself involved with KRUX.
I'm proper Afrikaner, just stock standard story, grew up nominally Christian. I think I truly only really became serious about Christianity when I was in my third year of university, so quite old already. I think I was 20 by the time I feel like I properly had a conversion experience. And I joined a Pentecostal church.
Hmm.
So very grateful for the energy that's in a Pentecostal church
Mm,
because it was exactly where a new believer had to put their zeal and there's so much happening. But I think in my first couple of years of discipleship, I was majoring quite heavily on the woo-woo and very little really on sound theological education. And I mean, it's that's a symptom of Pentecostal churches. You don't go so deeply into the theology as you go just into the whole new Christian charismatic experience. But I reached a time when I was ready to go to a town called Secunda
mm,
in Mpumalanga, and I had a bursary from Sasol to do my master's. But then I was contractually bound to work back the bursary for 2 years. But I don't know. When I accepted the bursary, I thought I was going to go to Skukuza in like the Wildtuin. And it turns out that Secunda and Skukuza is not the same place.
a little
So
different.
I accidentally and ended up in this mining town in the middle of Mpumalanga, just
Mm,
not knowing why I was there or what I had done. And I realized that there were so many young new starts there with me, and so many single new early career starters who were also a little bit lost. So with three friends, we started just planting a church in the
mm,
mining town. And we just did everything and we learned at the Pentecostal church to do. We knew about worship and we knew about the services and we knew, but then when it came to sermon time, who was going to say anything that is of any theological values? You know, we could testify like champs, but actually preaching, that's a whole different story. And I realized I needed training. So
mm,
at that time, the church that I was at was collaborating with the South African Theological Seminary, and they were opening up their honors in practical theology for
mm.
us, that if you already held a bachelor's, you could enroll for it. So of course I grabbed this opportunity. I thought, holy moly, I'm like trying to start a church and I need training. And one of the modules was systematic theology, and the lecturer was JB Crone. So I met JB through the South African Theological Seminary module, systematic theology, and he was just so excellent. That was one of the best modules of my academic career. And I enjoyed it so much, and he was so patient with my research project and helping me learn to write theologically. So we graduated. Sitfos also did that degree with me. So we graduated in 2014,
Mhm.
and then JB moved back to Stellenbosch from Canada in 2015. So I just wanted to continue with this. I just had this insatiable hunger now for formal training. Now that I've seen what it is like to actually sit under somebody that has a doctorate in theology.
Mm,
And so JB started teaching, especially on the book of Romans in his lounge. So he said, you know, anybody that's still registering a need for proper training, just come, we'll read through Romans. And he was just so eloquent. He was so knowledgeable. He did word studies with us. He just broke open the book of Romans for me in a way that I'd never experienced before. So obviously I'm just going to start inviting all of my friends. And it just grew from there. So I had moved from Mpumalanga back to Stellenbosch in 2015, same time. So I was now a brand new lecturer at Stellenbosch. And at that time, I feel like maybe in the Anglosphere, there was a political awakening.
Mm.
People who had never had a political opinion ever before, suddenly everybody had to choose sides, and it almost felt
Mm.
like a sorting hat type. Are you left? Are you right? Are you conservative? Are you
Yeah.
classical, liberal? Are you? And these words that, I'm from a math background, I've never had to deal with politics before. And suddenly I need to choose my house, my Harry Potter
Yes.
house, and my classical liberal. And at the same time, with this upheaval, fees must fall really hit Stellenbosch campus hard. And I was teaching Bible school at the church that I was a member of. And the students would ask me the toughest questions. Is this movement Christian?
Yeah.
Is it rebellion to go against the authority of the university, or is it for the plight of the poor?
Yeah.
So it became like this these difficult questions, theological questions, is when is it rebellion? And Romans says no, but you should listen to your authority. But then
Mm.
also, should we be throwing over taxpayer tables because the students can't afford to study? And what should the Christian response be? So
Yes.
I said to JB, Guy, now we need to do the theological training also, but we need to start helping these students and have like a Libri type space where we can just talk safely. So Sirfas and I started, we called it Hot Dogs and Dialogues back then. Because we would, if you drove out all the way to East Mountain, so East Mountain gracefully opened up their lounge to us that we could use it, and we said to the students, if you can make it to East Mountain to come talk to us about these things, and we'll give you a hot dog for dinner. So that was the exchange, so a hot dog for a dialogue. And I mean, it was hilarious. It was like white bread and pink bologna and like, all joy tomato sauce, but it was fine. And it just kind of grew from there, where weekly there would be a topic. We would get lecturers from Stellenbosch who were also Christians to come teach on political worldviews, and on Prof. Nicola, she would come teach on political theory, and then
Mm.
Prof. Dieter would come teach on Christian economics. So it was fantastic. And so we brought it back to the house, which is now the Crone Lounge, and it just kind of grew from there. So then, KRUX just got that was the theological and the culture legs, and then the artist leg came with it. And when we had those three pillars, then we knew exactly what our mandate was: is
Mm.
theology, culture, art, and then with Corley, with the hospitality, we had the pillars for our roof, and we knew, okay, this is what KRUX is going to stand on. And then it just grew from there.
Yeah. Mm. Yeah, I think it's for me, I love hearing those types of stories because I feel like it captures so much of um, I think in many ways the spiritual experience a lot of people have in coming to faith, right? And there's that zeal and a desire and sort of looking everywhere and thinking, I must do everything, I must find, and then to recognize, like hearing you say, I need training. And then for that to lead to, I desire and long to continue to learn and grow. And then for that to give birth to a ministry, and obviously not on your own by yourself, but in community. And for then that to become very clear what that vision for the ministry, that sort of what mission you guys were going to take on. Yeah, no, no, I love stories. Yeah. So moving from how all of that started to what is it that you find so special or significant? This could be personally, or just as you think of the organization itself, the ministry itself. What's so special about KRUX?
I look at us like this is the 10th anniversary year, really, since we formalized KRUX.
Mm.
And it's every year is a miracle, because no one signed up formally any year ever. It is the only formal infrastructure was really the WhatsApp group. And we quite early decided that every January we'll create a new WhatsApp group, just put the link to it on the old one, and whoever joins us for another year joins us for another year. So uh, it's just see you guys on the next group, and then the last one just goes quiet. And the number of people that just clicks the link and jumps
Mm.
across and still comes to talks, and the churn, I mean, it's fresh people every week, and then some people go away and some people come back. And for the longest time, we didn't know what KRUX was. So I knew I had something on a Thursday night, but if I had to explain to friends what it was, I didn't have
Yeah.
the vocab. I'm like, it's I I guess it's friends. It's 8 of us are going to read Romans. Do you want to come? Because it's just too difficult to explain. Or 20 of us are going to listen to someone talking about Nietzsche. Do you want to come? Or there's a movement or a watercolor workshop. Do you want to come? So what makes KRUX so special is how grassroots it is, how how it's found a way to be sustainable without really being formalized. And
Mm.
we don't run out of topics. We don't run out of speakers. I was also, for a decade, I was a secretary of my professional society for operations research. And you have to beg and plead for speakers, and you have to get the audience to just, please, can you just arrive? And for some reason, there's no struggle with KRUX. It's not like people are lining up to still present for us, where you would think in this age of free labor, when everybody's already so overworked and so tired, that people are lining up to do free
Mm.
labor for us. The number of volunteers that we have for artist gathering, every year that artist gathering happens, it's a miracle. We're sitting in the start of the year and we just think everyone is burnt out, everyone is tired, we have zero funds, we don't know how we're going to do it. And then come September, it is this international level quality
Mm.
conference for 3 days, and you just don't even understand how it all came together. Like you heard at the AGM now, again, all the portfolio results, and then we did this, and then we did this, and then we did this. And I'm like, when did everybody do all this? Where? And somehow it's just the vitality of it for a society, well, a community that
Mhm.
really doesn't strive to be this active. We're just so spontaneously active.
Mm.
I think it's a miracle. And then somebody needs to step down, and then there's just help. There's just somebody that is ready to fill the position. So I really thank the Lord for that. It's a vitality that is grace, absolute grace, because it's not through our striving. It really, we're as amazed at the end of the year, as a visitor would be, as a how, and we're like, grace, I have no idea. So it is
Mm.
such a special, organic, grassroots, vital community.
Yeah. I remember a number of seminars, and it would be, yeah, JB and I would arrive and we'd be setting up, and yeah, he would start out by saying, "Yeah, I don't really know that we're going to have very many people show up for this."
Yeah,
And by the end of the seminar, after, there's like 10, 15 people, we're looking at the room and thinking, I don't know if we could really fit too many more. Um,
yeah.
by the end of it, he's saying, I don't know how it happens, but and he's like, why people would choose to come and spend their time here, but they do, and then the things that God does in the midst of that time together,
Yeah. Even if you look at the WhatsApp group, I mean, WhatsApp groups are notoriously famous for being hated. People hate them. And then ours grew to like 80 people, to the point where we thought, oh, flip, we actually might need some terms and, regulations on this, because 80 people, of which you maybe personally have met like 25 of them, because there's just such new numbers all the time.
Mm.
So yeah, somehow, somehow it's just so vital. But I'm very, very proud of it. I'm just like, I'm grateful for it.
Yeah. So, this is just actually something that came to mind in this moment. So, I wasn't thinking about this before, but thinking about all of the years of being involved, after those initial Roman studies and the training and things that um, I don't think anyone is wondering whether those were really significant for you. Um, are there any topics or artist gatherings or talks or things that even now stand out to you over the years? Yeah.
Yeah. Um, the biggest treat of the year is when Jonathan Griffiths presents anything. Um, he has such a sense of wonder and whimsy and imagination. He did this one talk just on small things, on little things. When he was a child, he remembered looking at his Lego playset and just wishing that he could be part of that little pirate
Mm.
set. And he took us into this world of just tiny things. And why are we so obsessed with the little and the miniature and these little landscapes of imagination? I
Mm.
love that talk so much. And then it went into how he also did for his children's church. Um, the church where he was a member, every summer they have like a youth week, like a
Mhm.
church week where they like for the holiday club, I think they call it. And he was in charge of it. And it was such a decision moment for him because that congregation had got, I think, a big, massive IMAX screen as a donation. So they had this digital solution. You pop those kids in front of that big IMAX thing for
Yes.
like a week, and they are babysat. They can watch um like you could put Prince of Egypt on there for them and say, they got some theological training from it. But the screen had sorted out all of your problems. And Jonathan had to decide whether or not he still wanted to do a very analog Bible club
Yeah.
or holiday club or whatever they call it. And so he just did this presentation about everything that he made for the kids. So it was like like not a murder mystery, but like a detective mystery. And they built these big telephones out of cardboard, and they had stage with lights. And I remember something that Jonathan said was just there's some things you cannot replicate, like the feel of cardboard or the smell of chalk paint. That
Yeah.
that will take you. That's the nostalgia, not what you saw on a screen. And I think about it so much because I listened to Adie's talk that or interview that you posted
Mm.
this morning.
Yeah.
And she also said motherhood is so analog. And I
Mm.
thought, holy moly, if that's now not a reason to have a child just to get you away from the screen, because I spent, I don't know, 17 hours a day in front of a screen. So I guess I still think about Jonathan's talk where he could have taken the easy route and
Yeah.
just had that. Instead, he charmed us at this KRUX talk with all of the things he made, the sound effects and the cardboard
Yes.
telephones. And I think it's because I have such a desire in my life to return to the analog that talk really stuck in my mind.
And I think something that yeah, you've brought it back for me as well, because something that stood out to me about that talk was not just how beneficial or, you know, Jonathan's desire to do it, but eventually how excited the kids were for it,
Yeah,
and that the children were like, yeah, we really want uh, to see what they're going to do, and we want to be a part of it, and engage with it, and I think if I remember right, he even talked about that they did find ways to use the screen, but
yeah,
it became more about how do we steward all of these things well. Um, yeah. So no, it's good to be reminded of some of those talks.
yeah.
So thinking about the future, um, what would you like to see KRUX continue to do, or maybe where would you like to see it go? Maybe new things, or what are your hopes for KRUX and for that community?
Yeah. The big dream is for physical space.
Mm.
Corley's mom has been so generous by letting us use that lounge. And the KRUX Lounge is an institution, but we have such a desire for a space on campus. Often, like a house on a corner will open up and we'll just be staring at it longingly. We have these dreams for an actual studio where artists can just walk in, and
Mm.
it's got equipment in there, and it's got supplies and
Yes.
paints and canvases, and anybody can walk in and come create something. And then we also had this vision of what if AD was really like an artist in residence, and that was her studio, and she was just there, and somebody walks in and has questions and needs to talk about something, and they just talk while painting or drawing together. And then we thought, and what if that house could also have, like Sirfas needs a leather chair and a pipe and a fireplace and a library. So then we thought, what if we could have a room? And Sirfas's fully paid employment is to sit in that leather chair and wait for somebody to come ask him about what is friendship in the current
Mm.
political climate, and what would Sartre have said about this statement. And because Sartre did his masters on Sartre, and so he's just this philosopher that could just sit there. He is a young Roger Scruton. He needs a chair. So and then imagine if JB could just sit
Mm.
there and be ready. It's like a walk-in, just a
Mm.
walk-in counseling
Yeah.
center where people can come talk about art and politics and philosophy, or just come hang out. If we could have a fully stocked pantry where, like Corley with her hospitality, Corley could be teaching about nutrition, and our students need to eat properly and sleep properly. Corley also, she
Mm.
once did this talk about food and light, just get morning light and drink water. And so yeah, I guess that's the big dream, is to have a philosopher in residence, a nutritionist, and or like almost a wellness expert in residence, an artist in residence, and then a theologian in residence, and then
Mm.
a beautiful space on campus, that people, and a sustainable income that people can be remunerated, but also that we could keep it stocked, like a stocked pantry, a
Yeah.
stocked art supply, a stocked library. I think that's the big dream. We're still quite far away from that. But maybe, who knows? I mean, if I look how far we've come the last decade, can you imagine the next decade? And maybe a miracle happens for us. But I really think that there's a space required on campus, or there's a need on campus for a space like that,
Yeah.
for just young, lost, confused, or not even confused Christians, just somebody that needs Christian community and
Yeah.
fellowship. So I guess that's the big dream. I'm still gonna hold on to that one.
Yeah. Well, if you don't hold on to the big ones, if you aim too low, you
Yeah.
won't get any of the, and you won't meet any of the goals. So you may as well aim high, and you'll catch something.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, is there, just to wrap up, is there anything else that you'd want to share just about KRUX, about maybe it's your plans or things with regard to your work or where you feel God leading, but anything else that you want to share before we close this?
Yeah, I liked 80's answer to this so much. And because I was thinking of the blog posts I'm reading now, the Substacks I'm reading. It's
Mm.
exactly there where 80 was aiming. So there's a writer on Substack. His name is Dave Green. And I guess I like him because he's also an operations researcher who writes about culture and theology. And his Substack is called Letters from the Fiddler's Green.
Mm.
And he just writes letters to culture. And one of the things, his YouTube channel is also called The Distributionist.
Mm.
Excellent material. If anybody's looking for a new podcast to listen to, The Distributionist. And so what he's really been thinking of now um, is returning to folk. But he says we have become such consumers that when he says, let's become a community of, of kinfolk, immediately people want to go buy new linen clothes, or they think they must buy a cottage, or they think they must listen to the Lumineers, or they must brew coffee. And he's like, that's not what he means at all. So he describes the problem as atomized individuals that have been sold a commercialized folk tale. So he says even Disney, like a fairy tale, it belonged to a culture, it belonged to a community, and it said something about that specific culture. So then Disney comes, cleans it, universalizes it, puts it back out there. And now you live in a world where a child in your house can probably tell you everything you need to know about Marvel. But if you ask them, where does your town get its name from?
Yeah.
Do you know who built your town's town hall? Do you know why there's a bridge in that area and a bridge in not that area? They couldn't tell you a single thing, even about their neighborhood.
Yeah.
So Dave Green is writing so much about the return to embodied kinfolkness, which is like what AD also says, to find a way to be physical. So instead of online gaming with your friends, invite people into your house to come play board games, because then you have to tactily actually interact with, and you have to see faces, or do a neighborhood braai
Mhm.
and just a block party. Which I guess reveals I am, and like my context is a very suburban Afrikaner in our little houses. I'm sure someone from a different culture is like, yeah, we hang out on the street together all the time. But I guess from my point of view, like my culture doesn't do that. We know our neighbor's Wi-Fi name before we know their children's names, you know. So I've been thinking about that a lot, and what AD also said, what so resonated is, I get why we don't live embodied community lives, because everybody's burnt out and everybody is so exhausted. So I'm going through that now a little bit myself. I'm trying to minimize, to try and see if exhaustion is what makes me so people averse, or like what is it, because disconnectedness leads to extreme nihilism, extreme purposelessness.
Yeah.
And I am the worst example of that, of being alone to the point of being lost in purposelessness. But then we're so busy and we are so
Yeah.
burnt out to the point where I feel like if I meet a person, I already have anxiety, because I'm already scared for they're going to have a birthday for which I'm responsible. They're going to have children's names for which I will have to find space in my brain to remember. They're going to have a story, which is rude not to remember their story when you see them again. So I'm so burnt out at the moment. I meet a person and all I see is labor. I'm like already stressed because this is just a little bundle of labor that's walking up to me. And that's not normal. That's crazy. So I said in the beginning, I'm just a crazy introvert. I wonder if I'm not just a burnt out, scared of people. So anyway, that's what I'm saying is, for KRUX to keep doing what KRUX is doing, because it is that embodied space where people can come, and for members of KRUX to keep visiting physically, and to resist the digital, and find it in themselves to have like a braai or board games evening. Jurgen is so good at it. You must see Jurgen's game nights. He's such a champ at it. So anyway, that's where I'm at. I'm trying to think of how do we get less busy so that we're less burnt out, so that we're less freaked out by people, and that we see them as a joy and not a burden.
Yeah.
That's what I'm working on right now.
Yeah. Well, I think that alone again would be enough to give people lots to think about. But I think, yeah, everything that you shared has been, how do I put it? I think it reflects what KRUX is and desires to be and do. And at the same time, yeah, it offers a lot for people to think about and to consider what things may look like going forward and to imagine, right? To sort of use that imagination and creativity to think what could be, how could we continue to push forward um, yeah, and it's always good to be reminded of that need for embodied community relationship activity. So I think in all of this, really just appreciate you taking the time, sharing a bit, and contributing to this sort of, in some ways, experimental project. Um, just offering some yeah conversations and reflections for people to think about. So yeah, really appreciate it, Leishan.
Well done. Thanks, Tyler.
Yeah.